Well, thank you so much, Chair, and thank you to the witnesses for being here and, of course, for your service to our country. I'm sorry that you don't get a little bit more time to share your stories, but welcome to Parliament, and here we are. So I'm going to come to the Senator first. I really appreciated your recommendation around having the committee study the equivalency between the two acts. The part that I found particularly intriguing is that the veterans should be invited to a roundtable to inform on this study. And I think one of the challenges that we hear from veterans again and again is they often don't know what they can apply for and they don't understand the changes. And so I'm just wondering, do you think it would be appropriate for VAC to actually do some of that work and sit down with veterans and go through this process of understanding the different benefits and getting feedback from people from the wars that you're talking about that are really left out and really not acknowledged in the way that they need to be?
Thank you for the question. So I want you to know that there have been at least 35 SDAs since World War II, two wars with Korea, designated wars. So I think there are many living veterans. So as we always say, nothing about us without us. And we sit at this lofty level of Canada making policy, but we don't always know the lived experience. So if I go back to the concept of having the Women Veterans Council to advise the minister, I actually think it is a very good idea. A veterans advisory council on benefits, harmonizations, a special group. I think it would be of great value because, as we've heard, there are mixed experiences with Veterans Affairs, but also good Veterans Affairs experiences. And I believe they're willing to listen. So I like your recommendation.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So I understand that you have quite a bit of experience with addressing the Gulf War illness. And so I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit about what that work you've done looks like and sort of what happened, because what we've heard from testimony as well is that is not acknowledged. The Gulf War illness is not acknowledged, and there's a desire for that to be understood by Canadians a lot more. So I think your work would really help the committee understand maybe next steps and recommendations we should make in that context.
Thank you for the question. So, as I said, I was a nursing officer, and when I came back, I ended up as the senior head nurse on the floor that actually ran the Gulf War Clinic for the Canadian Armed Forces. And Colonel retired Ken Scott was the internal medicine specialist who did the assessments. And this was driven by the fact that other allied nations were saying, we're getting a funny constellation of symptoms that are coming together, and we want to know what they're linked to. So on my floor, people would come in from all across the country because it's when we still had military hospitals, and they would go through a full battery of tests just to make sure it was not some underlying condition. And again, it was, as you know, it's been a disputed syndrome. What is it? How does it work? Now, one of the challenges is we don't invest in research. I'm going to go back to that again. If you want the Canadian solution, it's easy to say no. We need the data, do the research. So moving forward, there are other countries that have done a wealth of investigation. They've looked at things. Is it a form of post-traumatic stress syndrome? Right? Is it there? No, but there's still these outlying things. They've done more work, but if we as Canada want to get on it, you need to put some investment into proper research on this because it will become hidden. The challenges in a country like Canada that continues to drive forward, we say fire and forget. Right? It's over. Moving on. Next issue, next war. So if you want to look back at it retrospectively, invest in research that is sex and gender-based, disaggregated, in order to see what is the delta, because this is an occupational health issue.
Thank you. And so in that context, I'm going to stop asking questions, and I'm going to move that the testimony of retired Lieutenant Navy Louise Richard from March 19th, 2013 at ACVA be adopted into the study on wartime service veterans. And just to give context, she specifically talks about the Gulf War illness. So I just want to make sure that we have that testimony on record if we need to access it during the report. Hopefully, we can just move to a vote.